Sonoma and Healdsburg both get described in similar ways. Charming wine country towns with beautiful historic plazas and amazing fine dining. But once you get past the brochure, these two towns feel very different, especially for day-to-day life. And so today I'll be comparing Sonoma and Healdsburg and giving you the rundown of what it actually feels like to live here, what it costs to live here, and by the end of the video, you should know which town is a fit for you. I'm Stephanie Johnson. I'm your Real Wise agent here in Sonoma County. Let's get started. So when we compare and contrast Healdsburg to Sonoma, I think the first inclination is to talk about the food and wine scene, although I don't think there's a lot of big differences between these two towns. They both offer robust food and wine tasting options. And so I'll give you just a little bit of information on each one, and that might help you decide if you're leaning one way or the other. The town of Healdsburg first sits at the center of three different AVAs. The Alexander Valley, which mostly features old vine Zinfandels and some Bordeaux blends. The Dry Creek Valley for Zinfandel and Sauvignon Blanc. And the third region is the Russian River Valley, which is cooler because it's closer to the Russian River and to the coast, and it offers more Pinot Noir and Chardonnay varietals. So in 15 minutes in the car in any direction from the town of Healdsburg, you can taste big, bold, jammy reds or something crisper and cooler and lighter. Sonoma also sits at the center of the Sonoma Valley AVA. It runs north through Kenwood and Glen Ellen where it's warmer, and that's where you'll see more of the old vine Zinfandels. Moon Mountain's volcanic slopes produce amazing Cabernets. And as you move south to Carneros, this is a cooler area as well, and that's because of its proximity to the bay. It's a cooler climate with fog and marine influence, and so the varieties there are Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, and they also make beautiful sparkling wines from this region. And so each of these towns offers a really robust variety and number of wine experiences, and so I don't think you can go wrong as a wine lover in either town. Now, if you're really a food lover and you're thinking about dining options, in Healdsburg, you're gonna have more concentration of kind of the Michelin star level of dining, right? Single Thread, Troubadour, Cyrus, Roof 106, all of these restaurants are very well regarded. And there's another sort of layer to Healdsburg, which is the sort of everyday Tuesday night dining options as well. And there are like some mainstays in Healdsburg that are really wonderful. From tapas bars to sushi restaurants, you name it, Healdsburg really has a nice smattering of just wonderful everyday restaurants. Sonoma also offers that higher tier of dining. Enclos just was recognized with 3 Michelin stars. Michael Mina's restaurant Wit and Wisdom is very popular and highly regarded. And Valley Bar and Bottle, right on the plaza, holds a Bib Gourmand. And so you can have very high-end experience in Sonoma as well, as you would expect in wine country. And Sonoma also has a tremendous number of restaurants that sort of suit your everyday. Everything from the Girl in the Fig to Cafe La Haye and everything in between, all around the square, there are a lot of restaurants that have been there a long time that people enjoy on a normal Tuesday or Wednesday night. And if you don't want to leave town, right, and you just want to have a walkable wine tasting experience in either of these towns, they're pretty comparable as well. Healdsburg and Sonoma have between 20 and 30 tasting rooms apiece, all within a flat walk of the town square. And so you really can have a very similar experience in each of these towns when it comes to food and wine. And so I don't know if there's a big decision to make on this front, but it's really good to know you'll be satisfied in either location in this regard. So the next thing we'll look at when comparing these two towns is the walkability and the character of the downtown area. Both of these towns have a central plaza, right? That's actually a special feature of these two towns that isn't shared by any other town in our county. Sonoma's plaza is far larger though. It's 8 acres in size. It contains 2 playgrounds, a duck pond, a rose garden, vast amounts of green lawn to lounge on. Also, the City Hall building is in the plaza, and there's also a Carnegie Library in the plaza. So it's really more like a big park right in the center of town. In Healdsburg, on the other hand, that plaza is really charming, but it's only 1 square block in size. And so it's considerably smaller, and it can't really host the same size of events that can be held in Sonoma's plaza, where there's also an amphitheater for musical performances. And in addition to the large plaza, Sonoma also offers something called paseos. And these are walkable areas that are back away from the street where you can walk without traffic and visit little shops and restaurants off the main drag. And there's a few of them in Sonoma. They're charming, and they really add to the historical feel of the town. I think overall, Healdsburg's plaza is far smaller, but it feels more polished to me. It's almost like there are fewer stores, and so the ones that are there are very high-end and sort of more curated, whereas in Sonoma, there's a lot more real estate that surrounds the plaza. It feels like a much bigger area. And so there's a lot of range in terms of restaurants and wine bars and shopping and boutiques. And so I feel like there's more to offer on the whole in Sonoma, whereas in Healdsburg, the selection is smaller, but it's also maybe more high-end. Sonoma feels like a town that has a big park right in the center of it, whereas Healdsburg really feels like it has more of a town plaza. So the third point of comparison I'll make is the cost of living. What does it cost to buy a house in both of these towns? And here's where the towns actually diverged quite a bit. So I ran numbers for both of these towns over the last 2+ months, since June 1st to today, which is about mid-August. In Healdsburg's zip code, 95448, there were 46 closings during that period. The median price for those sales was just over $1.4 million, and dollars per square foot came in at about $811 per foot. In Sonoma's zip code, which is 95476, there was almost double the volume, 96 sales closed in the same period. The median price was far lower, which came in right around $1 million, and the price per square foot was about $712 per foot. So in Sonoma, there's more sales volume, lower median price. In Healdsburg, fewer sales, less inventory, and a higher price per foot. But what does that actually mean for you if you're looking to buy a house here? What does median price mean? And so I think it's more of a concrete comparison to look at what does a 2,000 square foot home cost in each of these locations. And so from that same data set from June 1st to today, I pulled out just the homes that were between 1,800 and 2,200 square feet. And in Sonoma, there were 13 sales in that size range. The average price of those homes was $1.375 million, and they were on about 1/3 of an acre on average. In Healdsburg, there were only 8 homes that were between 1,800 and 2,200 square feet that sold during the same period. But the median price for those homes was $1.62 million, and on average, that included a bigger lot size of about 2/3 of an acre. So same search, same house size, $250,000 gap, and not all of that gap can be attributed to the increase in land. So Healdsburg absolutely skews more expensive than Sonoma. So the fourth point of comparison is demographics and sort of the population of these two towns and who lives there. So I'll start by saying that these two towns are similar in size. Between 10,500 to 11,000 people reside in each town. In Healdsburg, the median age comes in at 44 years old, which is quite a bit younger than Sonoma's median age of 57. So while Healdsburg's population skews younger, maybe still in the workforce, maybe kids still at home for some people, Sonoma's population absolutely skews more toward a retirement lifestyle. Healdsburg is actually more demographically diverse as well. Roughly 62% of the people in Healdsburg are white. Compare that to Sonoma, which is around 83% white, so pretty big difference. So some people might tell you that Healdsburg has more second homes or vacation homes than Sonoma, and that Sonoma's housing tends to be more primary residence. But that is actually not true, at least not according to the 2020 census, which is the latest data on this I could find. What the census found was that the towns actually track pretty closely in this regard. And so Healdsburg came in at about 5% of the total housing volume was for a second home, vacation home. Whereas in Sonoma, it was only 1% higher at 6%. So contrary to popular belief, the census at least confirms that this portion of the market is actually pretty small, despite the narrative. So the next point of comparison is actually the number one thing that I get asked about when people are coming from outside of Sonoma County, and that is the risk of fire. And especially for people that are coming from urban areas where fire risk may not be really kind of front of mind, it's definitely something that they want to understand and they want to know about. So all over Sonoma County, we have a broad strokes of wildfire risk. I would say probably 90% of the area of our county ranges from moderate fire zones to extremely high fire zones. And both of these towns have seen wildfire destruction in recent years. In 2017, the Nuns Fire burned through Sonoma Valley, taking with it 56,000 acres and over 400 homes. And in 2019, Healdsburg had its own fire, the Kincaid Fire, which burned almost 78,000 acres and threatened the towns of Healdsburg, Geyserville, Windsor, and parts of Santa Rosa. Over 180,000 people were evacuated during that fire, and 90,000 structures were at risk. Thankfully, only 374 structures actually burned, and the towns totally survived. But after that, in 2024, another fire broke out in the Dry Creek Valley. This one was called the Point Fire. But while it was much smaller, Those two fires that happened in Healdsburg absolutely informed changes in the fire hazard map. And now much more of the area surrounding the town of Healdsburg falls in a high fire zone or extreme high fire zone. The net here is that both of these towns offer some exposure to fire risk. The map is your friend. If you're considering a particular parcel in one of these two areas, you should check the map first to see what that actual parcel's rating is, because of course the rating on the fire map is going to influence the kinds of insurance policies you can get, the rates you will pay, and that factors into your purchasing power. And so I think the map is your friend. Now, you're never going to get out of the risk of fire in Sonoma County, but these two towns have fairly comparable risk, and parcel by parcel, it can change pretty drastically. The next thing we'll look at in comparing these two wonderful towns is the access to the outdoors. And while they both have beautiful offerings in the surrounding areas for hiking and biking and water sports, they are pretty different. In Healdsburg, there are a lot more bodies of water, and so life on the water can be a big part of your life in Healdsburg. You have the Russian River, which runs right through the southern part of town. Lake Sonoma is not too far away at the top of the Dry Creek Valley, where you can do boating, kayaking, fishing, and all kinds of water sports. And it's even closer to the part of the Russian River that runs through the Guerneville area for a different kind of river experience. In addition to all of that, there's a beautiful Dry Creek Trail, which winds through oaks and vineyards and offers a really nice experience for hikers. Sonoma's outdoor lifestyle, on the other hand, really centers around hiking and elevation gain and views. Jack London State Park, which is to the north of Sonoma, up the Sonoma Valley, offers 30 miles of trails through the Valley of the Moon, including a hike out to Jack London's grave and the ruins of the Wolf House. And Sugarloaf Park offers 25 miles of trails, a creekside campground, a seasonal waterfall, and an observatory for stargazing. So if your vision of getting outside involves a paddle or a swim, Healdsburg's probably your choice. If you want to put on a pair of boots and hike, then Sonoma's probably your choice. And actually, both of these areas offer pretty great cycling. The last point of comparison is for people who still have to work a job and may have to commute down to the Bay Area. And so, of course, these two towns are in very different areas of our county. Healdsburg, straight up the 101. From the Golden Gate Bridge, it's an hour and 15 minutes to an hour and 20 minutes without traffic. But of course, if you're making this drive during the commute hours, you have to get through the county of Marin, which means you're going to be in traffic, and that can extend your drive up to an hour and 40 minutes. Sonoma is actually closer to the city than Healdsburg is. Healdsburg's 70 miles from San Francisco. Sonoma is more like 40. However, the drive to Sonoma is a little more convoluted. You have to go up 101 through Marin, but then you have to cut over on 37 and connect with Highway 121, and you're on 2-lane highways for much of that drive. If that gets congested, that drive can be quite a bit longer than you expect. Without traffic, it's still an hour to Sonoma from San Francisco, and with traffic, depending on just how bad it is, it can be more like an hour and a half. So Sonoma may look a lot closer on the map, but it actually isn't that much closer in the car. If you're commuting in occasionally, but you're mostly working from home, then neither one of these locations is going to be a drag for you. I think if you have to be in the city more than 1, maybe 2 days a week, or anywhere in the Bay Area for that matter, I think you want to rethink moving to one of these towns and maybe consider moving somewhere a little closer to where you need to work. So which of these towns is for you? Well, I would say, in my opinion, if you're looking for something that has maybe a little bit more polish and panache, has a little bit of an edge in the fine dining scene, and has a little more variety in terms of your kind of outdoorsy lifestyle that includes water sports, then Healdsburg might be for you, especially if you're looking for a town that skews a little younger and you're willing to pay for all of that. On the other hand, if you want to live in a town where the plaza is much more the center of life and there are a lot of events and cool things happening all year round that gather your community together, you want to live in a little bit older community, and you want to be a little closer to the city with hiking and outdoor trail-based outdoor activities, then I think Sonoma is likely a fit for you. And you might pay a little bit less in Sonoma to boot. Neither one's the right answer. Of course, this is about you and your search. And if you're looking to purchase a home in one of these two towns or anywhere in Sonoma County, I would love to be your guide. I'm Stephanie Johnson. I'm your Real Wise agent here in Sonoma County. And if you're interested in talking more about your search here for a home, give me a call. You can pick up the phone, you can send me a DM, you can text me, you can book a call via the link on this page. There's lots of ways to get in touch with me and start your search for your next chapter here in Sonoma County. Until the next one, bye for now.